Hi there. Hope everybody's doing well. In this lecture, we're going to be looking at Chapter 9 of Global Mergers and Global Strategic Management, specifically the area of global mergers and acquisitions. As you know, one way that we've looked at a bit, and you've seen in your book, is that companies go into new markets is through a merger or an acquisition. Acquisitions have a lot of benefits to them, as do mergers, and we'll look at that a bit in this talk. Basically, on page 2 of slide 2, you see that it's basically a choice between a standalone business entity or incorporating other companies or being incorporated yourself to achieve strategic goals. So the idea is that by you strategically, is it better for you to stay as you are, stand alone, or buy something, merge with somebody, or get bought or get merged, and to achieve what you look for as your long-term vision? You might think a lot of companies say, well, why would I want to be bought? But for many companies, that's the whole purpose. They've started, particularly in the digital age, the concept is to do something that becomes attractive enough to be bought by a bigger player. So that it really is the end game. So getting bought is not always the worst thing, particularly if it's structured well, and if the employees and the original owners benefit from the purchase, there can be nothing wrong. In my career, I've been bought a couple times, and also we bought other companies, and it can be very beneficial. Sometimes it doesn't work out well for the bank or the company being acquired. And in my case, once I was acquired by Standard Chartered Bank, and it was the best thing for us, for our career, all of us. It was a great organization to work for, and they treated us extremely fairly and bought us for a reason. So it depends. Sometimes it can be, if they buy you just to wipe you out and take you out of off the table as competition, it's a lot different. But sometimes if it's an acquisition to pick up a market where the other company isn't, or to provide some expertise or some abilities or skills that they don't have, then it can be very positive for the entity being acquired and the people that work there. Sometimes associations are through different ways, and of course, they can be acquisitions where you just buy it. A sale, a merger where it can be it could be 50-50 merger or 60-40, and then the whole thing is like, who runs what and how much control do the different parties have. There are minority investments where a company will just pick up a piece of another company in order to share in the revenue and dividends that company produces without actually owning them or even controlling them or even having much to say in management. They may buy enough to have a person on the board where they influence things, or sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just take a small piece just to benefit from what they see as attractive in the other company's business model. Then there's the joint venture. Joint ventures, as you see in your book, and in practical terms, it happens a lot. And one of the primary reasons is because two big reasons are: it's quick. It's relatively quicker, and sometimes in the country where you want to work, they're mandated by the regulatory environment. Some countries do not allow foreign investors to go in and then take over a piece of the market. Or in certain industries, but they do allow for a joint venture where they can achieve. They do bring in the foreign investor. They do bring in the foreign investor's technology, but they also have one of their own people in the economy, or maybe even associated with them, that will be able to benefit and also share in the wealth or going forward, and also share in the risk of there. Sometimes a company will say, a joint venture. I need a joint venture because I don't know the market. I won't be able to do the business. I don't know who the players are, and so my joint venture partner will resolve those issues for me. And then there are alliances. Alliances are with less sharing of money. It can be like a alliance based on a contract. There may be no investment between the two companies, but just an understanding. And you see that a lot lately, not just lately, but you see it more and more where companies are thinking, you know what, I don't want to be in that business, but in terms of having the whole infrastructure and staff and the regulatory hassles, but I do want to be in that business in terms of being able to, when my clients need that, I'll have a partner that I can refer them to for a fee. that you see that more a lot, and more you'll see that a lot of times in the entrepreneurial space. You'll see a lot of alliances and associations where people have different contracts with each other on a referral basis, on doing things that maybe somebody doesn't need a full-time marketing department, but they need a marketing department for certain things, so they have an alliance. Maybe they don't need a full collection department or a credit analysis department or things like that. It can be many things, but they have an alliance partner. Sometimes when you're making certain investments, it's too big for your company. So when it gets too big, you have a partner. Or if it's too risky, you have a partner. Or if it's shaped like this, or certain countries you don't want to work in, they do. So you'll have alliances based on different things that don't require a lot of investment. You may not make as much money in the long term, but you can quickly operate and have less risk and in financial entanglements. It can be quite attractive. In this slide, the next one, you see the global mergers and acquisitions in the States. It just goes up like crazy. You'll see there's a little bit of a drop in the 15, 16 economy, etc. But the overall trend continues, and you'll see big announcements of mergers all the time as people trying to consolidate the market, especially in these spaces that are so popular in the entertainment, telephone, and communications areas. You see a lot of big mergers as they try to find ways to eliminate the competition, consolidate the market, and really make more money doing that. This is a reality check here. Global mergers and acquisitions, there are a lot of challenges, and especially in the joint venture space, tons of them don't work. My personal experience is that joint ventures have a nice beginning. They can go for a bit, and then they don't do so well. And there are a lot of reasons for that. And you look at this. This is a good chart, and just in general to show why things don't work out. And you can. Sometimes a thing like this you can apply, what this is like almost like between two people. If why didn't my relationship work out? And it's very similar to the corporate relationship. A lot of times there's lack of a strategic fit. You don't have the same vision, the same goals. You don't want the same things out of this merger or acquisition or joint venture. You might talk it up, but really you have different agendas. Different agendas become more pronounced over time, especially when the people originally involved in the deal leave. Sometimes you'll see two guys that get along really well, and they do fine when they get set up. Then one of them gets transferred somewhere else, and the next person that comes in, maybe she doesn't do as well with these people, or who knows. But over time, the differences with the motivation of the people involved become larger and more pronounced, and they can cause trouble. There's sometimes a lack of due diligence in the beginning. I'll tell you, having been involved in a few acquisitions, you get really fired up. I mean, you get so fired up that you become blinded by the excitement of big game hunting or something like that. You get so excited by the deal that you overlook certain issues, or maybe you don't do it, or even you see them, you want to ignore them because you really want to get this deal done. And that happens a lot. Overestimation of synergies. I'll tell you, it happens all the time. People have an unrealistic view that people in the other company are better than their people. People are people, and usually they're about the same. I mean, I think it's one thing we can talk about another time, but it's very important to try to always have the best staff you possibly can, do everything you can to have excellence across the board. But in general, there's like a bell-shaped curve of people, and often people think, well, we want that company because their people are so much better, and they're not. They're the same, and you'll see that over and over again, an overestimation of the synergies, an overestimation of the capacity and capabilities of the other side based on a lack of confidence in what you have in your own company. Then there's empire building. Happens a lot. People just love to. Some people just love to be buying stuff and doing more, opening more branches, etc. It's a way to keep on going. Growth hides a lot of things that aren't working, and it really does. And then there are a lot of politics involved. Real politics, as well as sometimes you're doing a deal in a country and you're working with the political party in power and maybe even some relatives of the high ups in that thing, and then the government changes and you're really left in the exact wrong spot. You have the wrong people you're working with and the wrong connections. So when politics get involved, which sometimes is necessary because in the countries they don't allow you to come in unless you're associated or unless you're friendly to the powers that be can flip on you very quickly if these guys are ousted and a new group comes in and they do a lot of revisionist thinking. Everything they did was bad, so that sort of thing. That can happen, and it does happen. So the more you can stay out of politics and not work based on connections in politics, the better. But obviously it's a realism. Realistically, you have to consider, sometimes it's not, it's unavoidable. On the deal itself, there often an excessive premium. It happens a lot that people pay too much. When you pay too much, it's like buying a house. If you pay too much, it doesn't, it takes it longer for it to be profitable. There can be bidding fever. Sometimes a lot of mergers and acquisitions are done on almost like an auction basis. Bids are submitted. People they want to win, so they start bidding too high. Often, it's very difficult to say, here's my offer, take it or leave it, and I don't care. Because by the time you've gone through this whole process, you really do care. You're all fired up and you want to see it happen. So there is a tendency to overpay. Then on a post-deal side, so that's the pre-deal, the deal itself, the post-deal, a lot of things. And what happens is often when people do the deal, the deal doers go on to the next one. Experience has shown, and some studies have shown, the best way is have the people that have done the deal also be in charge of running that deal for a while, because they're totally invested. They really want to make it happen, and they will not accept failure on the thing that they've created and done. However, if they just turn it over and the new people come in and saying, this was not my deal, I never wanted to do it in the first place. I can see a lot of holes in it. I didn't want to get transferred from where I was to manage this thing. So there's sometimes can be not a wholehearted commitment to making this work as if you had the original people involved. Sometimes there's not enough of a plan, and the people take over and they say, "What were they thinking? There's no integration plan. Our systems don't match up." They're all good people start leaving. There's a saying that the best swimmers are the first ones to jump over the ship, and it's true. When you acquire, or when you're acquiring somebody or being acquired, you'll see a lot of programs to retention type programs to keep the good people in place. Failure to do that will cost you. You have to keep the good people because you need them more than ever. And at the same time, everybody's looking there, and they'll say, I think I can get that person now, because they can't be happy being bought or when they're buying, because there's so much uncertainty. Some people do not like uncertainty. So if you step in and offer somebody a job, they'll take it. So to ease that, if you're acquiring or being acquired, the good people you really have to keep. You have to give them something on a retention side to make them stay. So and a lot of customers will leave. Then there's clash of cultures, like all those things. They're all very real. Those things do definitely happen and have led to any number of failures. And in fact, the failure rate is quite high. It's over 50% across time. I'd say joint ventures at least that much. It's very difficult to do that. And I'll tell you from experience sometimes your company will say, okay, we want you to help you buy this other company, and you think, what, if you give me the money that you're thinking about buying that company, let me invest it in my own team, in my own business, I could do better. But there's a excitement and thrill about acquisition that sometimes, and it's a different concept, that will kind of make it easier to do an acquisition than it is to build with your own resources. And a banking is a perfect example. If you say, well, I use this much capital to buy that bank. A lot of people say, if you get that much capital, I can grow my balance sheet easily, the same and more, and it's with our system, etc. But so you have to stay firm if you're in that situation. Resist the idea, just excitement of the thing, which is very exciting, I'll have to say, and see what would be the best use of this money. What's the best use of this capital? What am I going to do on the pre-deal, the deal, and the post-deal side to make sure this thing works? Because these are all very real. You see the high failure rate, and you want to say, let's avoid that failure rate. Let's make it worth our while. You don't want to spend your time doing this whole thing and have it not work. So anyway, I hope you're encouraged to look at that, and you're not going to use it maybe today, but I'll guarantee you, as you move forward in your career, you'll have opportunities to really consider how this is applied to what you're looking at in terms of acquiring a company or being acquired yourself. All right, well, thanks a lot. I hope that made sense to you all, and we'll talk to you soon.